It's the Borster podcast. We are going to keep this one short because Max has been struggling in traffic like Scoot Henderson on a Wednesday night regular season game. Bam Adebayo just scored 83 points. Max, I think COVID cracked our window into like a real reality. Right now, we've got Trump being a violent moron pedophile, billionaire, lizard freaks, probably eating kids,
Hmm.
Gavin Newsom gaining momentum, Stephen A tweeting low IQ centrist slop, and now Bam Adebayo has the second highest scoring game in NBA history. So whatever the main timeline was, I don't think we're there anymore.
Yeah, we've escaped. Would you say that the BAM 83 is more or less insane than the Malachi Flynn 50?
Oh, easily more. If you told me that someone broke Kobe's record on the Heat, I first would have guessed Tyler Hero, and then I would have guessed Norm Powell,
Hmm.
and I really think third would have been Bam Adebayo.
Yeah, I really do think you could have gone through 50 or 60 players in the league before you guessed him. And yeah, it probably should have been like a 60-point game under normal circumstances, and I'll probably remember it with the reverence that I remember like most 60-point games, I think. Um, and just like the fact that it happened from a guy who's defense first and then offensively, he's a good offensive player, but his identity is like a connector, a playmaking hub. Um, the fact that it just breaks the brain to think that he's the one who got who got the 81 or the 83. And just it really was a surreal experience, like watching the box score tick up point by point. And then I watched the fourth quarter, and by the end, it was like almost a football game where he was getting double teamed in the backcourt to try to force the ball out of his hands, and the Wizards couldn't keep their hands off him. He was getting free throw after free throw. Um,
Yeah, a lot of good media coming from this one.
oh yeah,
As usual,
shot in the arm.
the non basketball stuff is really fun.
Yeah,
I just saw Spo come out and say, I will apologize to absolutely no
he did
one.
the McGregor.
Yep. And I love it. He just said straight up, we were playing against a team that is playing for nothing. Their franchise is actively trying to lose, which, to the Heat's credit, however you feel about that franchise, whether they've broken your team's heart in the playoffs or not, I can't remember the last time the Heat tried really hard to suck. It's just not in their DNA. They
No.
will happily win 38 games with a little bit of dignity on an off year. And I dig it. He said he spoke to Bam before the Wizards game and said, "You're our best player. These are the sort of nights where teams can fall asleep. We've seen better teams than the Heat, lay an egg against teams like the Wizards." And he said, "I need you locked in." Now, I just want to be clear. I think your 60-point game point is actually really valid. It might feel more real to me if he got like 58. Like
Yeah,
the 83, I don't know what to do with it. He took more free throws than Will Chamberlain in his 100-point
he
game.
took more free
Uh,
throws than anyone in NBA history has ever taken.
yeah, but it almost sounds crazier when you say the Wilt 100 pointer.
Yeah, which apparently was also kind of had a similar look to it down the stretch of like one team playing keep away with the ball and the other team fouling intentionally to try to get the ball back over and over again. Plus
Yeah,
the added thing of Wilt being a terrible free throw shooter to begin with.
obviously the Onion wins this media cycle with their fake story that Bam dies in a helicopter crash, even worse than Kobe.
It was
But to Kobe's credit, 28 for 46 against the Raptors in 2006. I think he took 25 free throws. Oh, he was 18 for 20 from the line. Um,
reasonable.
Reasonable. He took 48 shots from the field, but that's kind of what you have to do to score 80 plus.
Yeah, he was over 50% at least. Like Bam, I think was sub
Oh,
50% from
yeah.
the field, 20 of 43 or something like that.
But it was fun. I really don't think it means much, and I hate to be that guy.
Yeah.
Like it actually kind of looked like some of the clips I've seen of Wilt at his peak, literally just crowded around by like three defenders and catching a lob, coming down with it, keeping the ball high, and finishing. Like that was a lot of the fourth quarter when he wasn't at the free throw line, but when Bam wasn't. But Spo challenges up 25 with 2 minutes and 56 seconds left. Bam already had 77 at this point, and everyone on Miami's bench exploded. And I think that was that was fun to watch because it's also the Heat, and to see them just stop caring about winning, long-term goals, respect for the game.
Yeah.
I get it. Like it was a Tuesday against the Wizards, who were the worst team in a long time, maybe. Heat culture melted for one night. I'm fine with it. Whatever.
Yeah, I am surprised a little bit that Spo did like all the chicanery, but at the same time, happy for Bam. I am kind of curious 3 years from now how this is going to be remembered. Because I do feel like it's kind of going to fade into the ether just because it's such an unlikely person to do it, and I feel like people are just coming around more and more to the realization that post-trade deadline basketball just isn't real for a third of the league, if we're being generous.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, I
and
remember. I remember, like, I think it was Devin Booker's sophomore season or something when the Suns still really sucked and he got 70.
mhm.
Just like a night he hit like 12 threes, went nuclear.
Yeah,
I think they lost. I think they lost. The
they
Suns
did.
lost
And
that
they
game.
were
Yeah.
intentionally fouling to get him to 70 in the last
Yeah.
minute.
And I just remember thinking, oh, like, I guess we're just in a world now, a post 3 point line world where a guy just got 70. He's probably going to be a really, really good player for a long time, and it
Hmm.
doesn't matter.
Yeah, I do. I think we're going to see 90 like at some point. And until they fix, because honestly, this just shines a brighter light on some of the tanking stuff that we talked about last time. Um, I like culturally, I don't know how the Wizards recover from being as inept as they are. Like, it's
Yeah.
got to be baked into the foundation at this point. Like, I look at SAR differently after that game. I look at all their entire
Couldn't
infrastructure
agree more.
differently after
I
that.
was about to say that. I think this is one of those like unethical, like a team loses by 60 points, and you're like, we are not the same after this. Like
Hmm.
it feels like two steps back for any sort of Washington long-term hope because despite how bad they are and how much they've just wanted to get rid of every single adult in the room this year, um, they have young talent, and they had like Will
A lot
Riley's
of
been
it.
on a nice little run. Sar has developed quicker than we expected, especially on offense. Keyshawn George is injured now, but like has had some insane flashes. There are reasons to be optimistic that the next wave of Wizards basketball could get good. But there's very little pride. The eye test, Wizards coach Brian Keefe basically saying the fourth quarter stopped being real basketball. It's like, yeah, but I was watching it and your guys still looked pretty soft.
Yeah.
And if you didn't want to be a part of history, then you should have acted like it because the body language on the Wizards side did not exactly scream like we can't let this happen in slow motion. They were kind of along for the ride.
Yeah, yeah. They were fouling way too easily. Yeah, my as the resident of Kobe Stan, the country here. I will say Kobe's 81 coming in the dead ball era. Just
Yeah.
really, I think like the 2000s, no one was scoring in the 2000s. That's when we were getting teams scoring 81 points in a game. So I think him getting that, I mean, Wilt, his 100 was in like a really high pace era. Get ton of shot attempts. Obviously, we're at a super high pace, high offensive efficiency era now. I do kind of think that partially because of just the mythology of Kobe, which seems like it'll never go away. Not that it's, I mean, I buy into it to some degree. He is my favorite player, which sort of goes against everything I believe in as a basketball fan, but just sort of, sometimes players grab a hold of you as a kid.
Yep.
So I think that it'll still hold on to some of that mythology and the context of the era that it came in. How like relatively like sure, he probably shouldn't have been in the game in the last few minutes, but it was like a 16-point game. It wasn't like a 30-point game. Um,
And again, 28 for 46. It was just one of those
yeah,
Kobe nights where like Kobe taking a contested mid-range shot is like Steph taking a semi-contested three. It's just a shot that everyone in the front office down is begging the guy to take because it's working and it's a mathematical advantage.
yeah,
You did just say some players grab you as a kid. Didn't love that,
yep. I
but
heard that as it was coming out.
yep. This just some crazy context. I think Bam averaged 15 3-point attempts per season over his first 7 years in the league. He took 15 a year,
Hmm.
took 22 in this game, which, is obviously reflective of the development of style. But that's just like a player archetype drastically changing for the sake of history. And also he wasn't efficient. Like he was well below 50%. It ended up being a pretty ugly stat line other than the point total.
Hmm.
But it's a testament to Bam's skill set. Like what made Bam great all these years was not his scoring game. It was kind of everything else. Not that he was a poor scorer, but it was the switchability on defense, the toughness, the tone setting, creating out of DHOs, and he just kind of reminded us. He put the league on notice. Like he's still improving. You and I don't write him off, but it seems like a lot of people have written him
Yeah.
off as like a maybe like a 1.5 best player on a really good team.
Yeah.
And his skills have just evolved every single year. He had struggled to make shots last year, but the fact that he's capable of anything like this, even against a G League caliber team, is still something. And we're going to talk about it more when we get to our contender ranks at the end of this episode.
Absolutely. Yes. Yeah, my last thing on it, happy for Bam. And yeah, I do feel like it may be lost to history to a degree, but he's got a great story and he's just like everything you'd want from a franchise player culture wise. So I am at least
Yeah.
happy for him, but I think it'll
It
go
is
down with
I
the
hope it gets lost in history, dude. Like this is starting to give me flashbacks to when my baby brother came up to me and asked me if I knew like who Paul McCartney was, the guy in 4 or 5 Seconds with Kanye and Rihanna.
oh god.
Like, is that gonna be Kobe behind Bam on the all-time one night point total list? I don't know. Probably not, but insane. You asked me to make a list of 84 point games that would break discourse the most. Do you want to start
Yes.
us off?
Yeah. I think the one of the first ones that came to mind was LaMelo Ball if he had 84 points.
Yeah.
I feel like just because he's not a score first player and also just how his game breaks a lot of like old school basketball fans' brains, even my brain to an extent, just with his nonchalance and the absolute audacity of some of the shots he takes. So LaMelo was a name that came to mind. Did he come to mind for you?
Yes, I actually made like groupings of players. It's just how
Hmm.
my list ended up working. LaMelo got his own line. And I
He
didn't
might be
think
the
of him
answer.
right away. I didn't think of him right away. When I did, I was like giggling on my couch.
Yeah.
But here's my discourse damage ranking. And not in terms of likelihood, but it did get me thinking at some point we will just have a glitch in the simulation again where like some white shooter who doesn't get to the free throw line at all just makes 22 threes in a night. Like it's gonna happen
Yeah.
if the US isn't destroyed in war and stupidity, like at some point someone's gonna make 22 threes. It could be Duncan Robinson, it could be Sam Merrill, it could be AJ Green. And if you have license to take 35 threes and you're making most of them, you can get there quickly. So that's one bucket. I also had the uh, players I hate watching, the ball stoppers who we always talk about, the Jalen Green, Cam Thomas, Jordan Poole, Jordan Clarkson bucket.
Cam
Jordan
Thomas
Clarkson,
and Jordan
yeah,
Poole both were like the first two names that came to mind as like they might actually get enough
yeah,
shot attempts in a meaningless game to do it.
yeah. Clarkson's a little over the hill, but like vintage Clarkson could score about as many points as anyone like on his night
Yeah.
with his irrational confidence. I also had a bucket of, and this is kind of in order of descending like value players who we can't really decide whether they're good or not, even though they've put up really good counting stats for a long time. That Julius Randle, Brandon Ingram, Zach LaVine bucket.
Yeah.
Like one of those guys could drop 70.
I think Ingram's shot diet is too tough for him to get there, but I could see, and same with Randall, but I could see Levine getting there.
Yeah. And then lastly, let's not dwell on it. I put Denny Avdia just due to his nationality and the fact that we've had back-to-back Jewish commissioners.
And it would be also in like the 45 free throw range, probably.
Yes, it would be
Um,
heinous.
Yeah, I thought Zion as well because I thought Zion in a game that the other team just doesn't want to play could easily draw like 40 fouls just
Yeah,
driving.
maybe set a dunk record.
Yeah.
Just like have like 28 dunks in a game.
Yeah. Trey also could just have like a a heinous officiating game, and like the three is really dialed where he's pulling from 30 feet, and he gets
Yeah.
there. Uh, and then MPJ can go into the white shooter bucket as well.
The LaMelo one would be the most triggering for people. I
Yeah.
disagree with you that he's not a score first player. I think he has that Trey mental illness of like he'll get a lot of assists, but because he needs to be the guy throwing someone a grenade at the end of the shot clock after dribbling the air out of the ball. Um, but LaMelo, ESPN would be tweeting side by sides of like LaMelo as a kid
Chino
pointing at
Hills.
yeah, Chino Hills pointing at the half court line
Didn't he
because it would be the same shit.
didn't he have like 90 in a high school game?
Yeah, yeah. He was cherry picking. He wasn't playing
Yeah.
defense, which again, like he would recreate that.
Yeah. You just need to get Lonzo on the team and have LeVar be the coach, and then we'll get the LaMelo 90-point game.
Yeah,
All right. Let's do contender ranks.
yeah.
So we
You said top 10.
top 10. We'll see how many we get through before we have to go fast. But and we'll try to go like maybe a few minutes per team. Some of them will be grouped together. Uh
Yeah, we got to speed through this. I've got a new pickleball paddle to try out, and I just want to say I did this agnostic of conference because I thought it would be a little more fun.
okay.
So I'm not thinking about seeding. I'm not thinking about matchups. I'm thinking about if these teams were all grouped into one singular unit conference, who would I, in a vacuum, just sort of bet on to emerge from the pack? Do you
Okay.
want to say give me your number 10 through 8?
Okay, so that was my because I love tiers. I tiered it as well, and I did it less conference agnostic. So these are all Western Conference teams that might have a good chance of making the finals if they were in the East, but I just don't see it happening in the West. But they could all win a round, which are 10 Lakers, 9 Clippers, 8 Wolves. And I actually had Houston. I would have had Houston 11 without Steven Adams. I don't think that they can. I wouldn't give them as much equity for a conference finals trip as those three.
Interesting.
Wolves at 8, best chance of those three to make the conference finals. We've seen it 2 years in a row. If they go against a team that just doesn't have a game plan to slow down Anthony Edwards, they can absolutely cut through them. Um, I just really struggle to see them scoring enough against OKC or San Antonio to win either of those series. I think Denver would be a knockdown, drag out fight based on the matchup advantages that they have there. But I'd put them 8. Clippers, I'd put 9 just with how they've looked. Kawhi can be the best player in any series. Garland has looked good since he came back. Has that sort of jitterbug handle, get to any spot he wants on the court. It's still hard to believe the Clippers got another all-star point guard 10 years younger than their old one. Like that can really jumpstart their
Yeah,
rebuild.
it's crazy, dude. Like the Clippers emerged somehow with Ben Mathurin and Darius Garland.
Yeah.
I know they had to give up Zubats, but like that's just as well as you could have hoped for it to go. Like, thank God for them that Cleveland just decided they wanted to get into the James Harden business, and that's still a crazy head scratching desperation move from my perspective. But Garland had a couple rebounds last night where he really elevated in traffic and came down with the ball around much bigger guys that just made me think he's really feeling healthy and springy and like kind of trusts his body to bounce amongst the trees and come out all right. And it's just nice to see him like not wearing a mask, not limping, because I still believe in Darius Garland's ceiling and just his ability to stir the drink for a really good team. I did not have the Clippers in my top 10 contenders
Hmm.
simply because Kawhi said in a post game like a week ago that they were punting on this season.
Yeah, that's true. He said our season's
I
over.
couldn't believe he said it out loud. I want to say I respected it, but like I feel like they're talented enough that you shouldn't be saying that out loud.
Yeah.
Um, so I just thought if your best player has decided that this is an interim season, you're out. You're just mentally out for me. And I've been a Knicks hater all year. I'm not a fan of the two best players on the Knicks. I don't think that they have the grit to carry a team to the top of the mountain, but I still think they're more competitive than that Kawhi mindset. So the Knicks are my number 10 team.
Okay.
I didn't tear this out again. I smashed the two conferences together, but I had Knicks 10. They've got a really good defense over the last like month and a half.
Yep.
Interestingly. I don't know whether, switch heavy defenses will keep turning their offense into mud in May. We've seen it happen before, but Knicks 10, Lakers 9. They still have the Luka factor. We talked all year about how much they've quit. They're like the best 40 and 25 team I've ever seen. Or sorry, the worst 40 and 25 team I've ever
Yeah,
seen. I don't know how every time I look up, they're still like kind of a little bit better than we expected in the standings,
yeah,
despite the eye test, despite DeAndre Ayton saying he doesn't want to turn into Clint Capella. Um, and also LeBron like really taking a step down finally and being like
yeah.
at times not a smart play for the Lakers.
I mean, honestly, you say eye test. Well, the eye test when they are just the Luca Reeves team is that's a really dynamic offensive backcourt that
Yeah,
most teams can't stop. And then the supporting pieces fit in around that. And the problem is Luca and LeBron at this point in LeBron's career on defense are like, you guys got this type defenders. And you can get away with having one of those on the court, but when you have both of them on the court, it's like two passes wide open three basically, because like they'll make one rotation, but they won't make the next one, and then they're gonna stare at their teammates for not making the rotation for them. You can have one of those guys on the court, you can't have both, and that bears out where like when it's just LeBron and no Luca, they've been a good team sort of by on-off split as well. So the Luca Reeves pairing, I have a lot of faith in that going forward. Like I
yeah,
think that's an effective build, and you just got to find the right wing defenders and rim running center next to that. But yeah, like
yeah.
if they stay in like the 3 or the 4 seed and they play Houston in round one or something like that, or if they play the Suns in round one, I can see them winning a round absolutely.
Reeves and Luca together on the floor in 666 minutes. LA, satanic place. So, of course, it's the number of the beast. Luca and Reeves, two-man game, +9 on the season. The
Hmm.
defense has been good. It's been a 110 defensive rating with those two on the floor now and a really significant sample size. Just like you said, surround them with athletes, Laravia, Vanderbilt, Marcus Smart, just whoever's giving you enough depending on the night. Marcus Smart has been an above median expected outcome for the Lakers. Like there are
Yeah.
just nights where he's hitting threes and competing, and he still feels a little bit like a 6'3" Draymond on the floor, which is always a bonus on a team that doesn't have awesome depth. I just want to shout out Rui Hachimura, who should have been in my 84 point game
Yeah.
conversation. Like, if Rui was on the Wizards right now,
Yeah.
he might have a 65-point game.
He might have had it in that game last night.
Yeah. So Lakers at 9 for me. And then 8. This is where I get a little spicy. I have the Miami Heat at 8.
Oh my God. I'm very curious to see who you don't have in this then.
And I know this is ridiculous. You can laugh. Bam, Jaime, Norm Powell, Harrow, and Wiggins. That five-man lineup has played 11 minutes this year. They outscored the opponent 20-2. Um, 11 minutes. That's not why I'm all in. There are a lot of interesting lineups on the Heat right now. Bam and Ware on the floor together, +10 in 348 minutes.
Hmm.
+10 net rating, sorry, not +10 overall. They've been able to score with those two on the floor because they just surround them with shooters. Obviously, Harrow's been on and off the floor. Norm's been on and off the floor. This is starting to look like the sort of meddling, surprising, competitive dog Heat teams we've seen in recent years. They don't have a wing scorer like Jimmy who can,
Hmm.
put the team on his back for a couple games in a series. So I'm not like suddenly predicting that the Heat are going to make the conference finals, although we'll look at how the East falls by the end of the spring or mid spring. I just feel like this team is really deep and has a lot of still underrated vets. Like Norm Powell is as good as a lot of guys uh, on these playoff teams who are bigger names and louder on social media. Like Andrew Wiggins, after that really weird period post title with Golden State, has kind of found himself again. He's been good on defense for them. Like he kind of looks like Golden State Andrew Wiggins, the good one.
Yeah.
I Davion Mitchell being like your third or fourth guard is just like I think that's a good little playoff tool to have.
Yeah.
And I just love the competitiveness overall. And I just believe in this team. I believe in the DNA. I still think it's there. And I wouldn't be shocked if like we are seeing like Jaime Jaquez drop 31 in a game one against the Celtics, and suddenly like the Heat are in pole position all over again, and we're like, how are we living this movie again?
So do you have the Rockets in your top 10 or no?
Yeah,
Do you have all the top four East teams in there or no?
no.
Okay.
You want me to keep going?
So my 4 through 7 is the top four in the East, and I could not figure out how to rank them. Detroit, Boston, New York, Cleveland. I settled on that order. Detroit 4, Boston 5, New York 6, Cleveland 7. Um, just at a high level, I trust Detroit's playoff defense the most. I trust probably New York's playoff offense the most. Um, New York and Boston kind of in a tie for experience factor. Both have at times flamed out. Both have underachieved and overachieved in the playoffs, but they have both been in the playoffs a lot. Cleveland probably has the most talent overall, but I have the least faith in their overall grit and playoff moxie. So I put them at 7 because as a Knicks fan, I'm probably most scared of Detroit and Boston in a series, and then Cleveland next, which might be irrational, but that's just how I feel. So, which of those four did you not even have in your top 10?
Cleveland. I'm just irrational about the Harden trade, and I'm
Yep.
definitely too low on them because they're still really talented. I still love their front court. Donovan Mitchell is awesome. However you feel about like Donovan Mitchell for the money he makes, like he has been a great go-to playoff scorer for them. It doesn't feel like he's the reason things haven't worked out the last few years, but just what happens when teams trade for Harden? They disappoint in the playoffs, and I can't get that out of my head. It's a complete gut call because again, like it's not like the Cavs have been abysmal. They've played some really good teams recently and mostly lost, but I can't get the Harden presence out of my head, and I know the way that he's going to want to dominate the ball and kind of start everything for them offensively. And Donovan Mitchell has been a better defender this year than in recent memory. He's still not good enough to anchor a defensive backcourt with James Harden in the playoffs. So I'm just sort of out on them,
Okay,
and
we agree
they
there.
very well might prove me wrong because the East is thin.
Yeah, I just if they can, they're gonna buzz. They might buzzsaw a team in the playoffs, like in the first round. If it's them in Toronto, like they might buzzsaw them, beat them in 5 games, and it's not competitive. But I don't have faith in them when they hit adversity. And you said you love their front court. I like their front court. I think at times I like Jared Allen. At times I like Evan Mobley. They also have both shown their warts in the playoffs and shown an ability to be physically pushed around. Like whenever they
Yeah.
play the Knicks, still Mitchell Robinson is still the big man on the court. I worry about that in a matchup against Detroit for them as well. Them getting pushed around by Duran and Stewart. So
Yeah.
yeah,
If you told me that Max Strus is going to come back healthy because he still hasn't played all year, I think it's a
that's
shoulder.
crazy.
We haven't gotten a lot of info on that. But if you told me Strus is coming back in time for the playoff run, Jalen Tyson's going to be flying around getting significant minutes. Keon Ellis is going to continue to play real minutes for them, and they're just going to like surround their luxury players with these more live body athletes and kind of toggle on and off the two big lineups, you know, when they're not working. I'd buy it more. I genuinely might have had Cleveland on this list if they you just extract James Harden from the roster. It's a Harden derangement syndrome. Um, but yeah, I just feel like at the end of the day, this team is in a position once again where they will struggle to find the right five man lineups, and the nerds will be complaining about the guys on the floor, and the nerds will be right.
Yeah. And then who'd you have as the top East contender between Detroit and Boston?
Uh, I had Detroit.
Okay, we agree there. I just
So
think the
yeah,
regular season numbers have to mean something. Like we've seen this uh like they've had the second or third best net rating in the league the whole year. Their defense is so good. I think Cade has figured some stuff out from a pull-up shooting perspective, where last year in the playoffs, that's kind of how the Knicks won the series was Cade just shot terribly on like the pull-up jumpers that they were daring him to take. And I think it's going to be his second time around. The rest of the team, I think, is a little bit more developed around him, and they've just really figured out how to muck things up in an even greater way than they did last year. Asar is more integrated. He was coming off an injury last year. That defensively, he's maybe the most terrifying presence in the whole league. He's probably the guy who gives Brunson the most problems out of any defender in the league. Um,
Yeah.
and Boston, Boston's very dependent on Tatum the rest of the way, obviously. Like if Tatum continues to look kind of, inefficient, he's working his way back. He doesn't quite have the burst, which is all to be expected coming off the most devastating injury in basketball. Um, then and it still seems like he's kind of gumming up the operations a little bit on the offensive side, then yeah, I might even move them down to third behind the Knicks. But if he
Yeah.
starts to look like, a facsimile of last year's Tatum, then they start creeping up towards one. But I do think a lot of the Boston stuff is like regular season uh optimization
Mhm.
between
God, you're Chris the crackhead, just holding on to Boston not being real.
I do think with Boston, like the loss of Holiday and Horford, in particular, they're gonna feel more in the playoffs than they have in the regular season because those guys were real, I think, veteran leaders for the team, um, and just like real veteran presences. And maybe Tatum and Brown and White have enough between them that they can step into that void. But I do think like the lights are going to be really bright for some of their role players who've been awesome this year. But like there's going to be a lot of light shining on Hauser and Kada and
Yeah.
Garza and Gonzalez and Walsh and these guys who have not had the opportunity to show themselves in the playoffs really to this point. Um,
Yeah, I,
so
I
yeah,
like and I like a lot of those guys. I've always been a Debbie Downer when it comes to things we've never seen before. It's why I've been a Zion hater. It's why I doubted Chet Holmgren as a prospect because like the body was bizarre. Um, and Tatum coming back this quickly from an Achilles, like maybe this is just modern medical technology. And if he is 80% of himself, they might be the best team in the East. But I have them at 6 out of respect for what Detroit's done this year. They're my number 2 contender in the East. Yeah, and also I like the Vucevic like calming presence on offense. I like the idea of them having like 16, 17 minutes of Vucevic in playoff games.
hmm
And I didn't mind the other 30 being Cato. I genuinely think he's a high energy, self-aware,
yeah.
rim running big. Um, but Vucevic broke his finger. I'm not sure if he's going to be back in time. And we just kind of have to see how Tatum's body holds up because sure he's able to like not play back to backs and take precautions the next couple weeks, but it's going to be a little bit awkward if they have to load manage their most talented player in a playoff run when the team has shown an ability to kind of compete with anyone
Yeah. Um,
without him.
yeah. So moving along, are the three teams we have not mentioned the three teams at the top of your list?
Yeah, so I have the Rockets at 5.
Oh, okay.
I in a vacuum again. I smashed the conferences together. I think if the Rockets were in the East, they'd be my number 2 pick. Like, I have the Rockets at 5 and the Pistons at 4. And by the way, another Heat lineup I forgot to mention: Wiggins, Powell, Jaime, Bam, plus 12. 150 minutes. A lot of teams don't have this many like beautiful lineups, and the Heat
Yeah.
are slowly putting together like a Rolodex of lineups that are successful. But yeah, Houston 5, just depth, defensive grit. They're not quite as deep as I wanted them to be. They're down Van Vliet. They're down Steven Adams. Dorian Finney-Smith is shooting like 35-27 splits this
Yeah.
year, which is a bummer because I thought he would actually be a great shooting option for them when guys like Tari Eason or Josh Okogie go really cold. But um, I just still a really talented team. I still think Şengün is going to be a better playoff player than he was last year. You mentioned Asar. Like I think both Thompson brothers are getting really creative in the ways that they handle defenders sagging off to the extent that they do. And chances are Katie's going to be like a reliable – 49, 38, 86 guy in the playoffs because that's just who he is. And you just got to hope that guys like Eason and Jabari Smith make enough shots because their defense will be good enough to keep them in most series.
Yeah. So then do you have Wolves 4?
No, I had the Wolves 7. We skipped that.
Okay.
Yeah. So just to recap, because this is probably just so chaotic to listen to. Knicks 10, Lakers 9, Heat 8, Wolves 7, Celtics 6, Rockets 5, Pistons 4.
Okay. So we
I
have the
don't need to
same
tell
top
you. Yeah.
three, I think.
Okay. Yes. Yeah.
And I had Lakers 10, Clippers 9. So Clippers and Rockets we kind of feel similarly about. I feel like Wolves 8. So we feel pretty similar there. And then 4 through 7 was all East for me. So 7 Cleveland, 6 New York, 5 Boston, 4 Detroit. And again, I'm doing it assuming that the conferences exist. So that's why I have the East teams higher. If
Yeah.
the Wolves were in the East, I'd have them probably at the top. All right. In the last few minutes we have here, the top three, OKC, San Antonio, and Denver, I presume. What is your order?
San Antonio 3, Denver 2, OKC 1.
Okay.
And we'll just burn through this. Wemby, we might go into next season saying Wemby is, just definitively the best player in the world. That is very much in the cards now, with how well they're playing. 16-1 in their last 17, top 5 on both ends, according to the latest NBA.com data. Wemby just hung 39 with 8 threes on Boston. Like it's been a movie. This team looks a lot like the Thunder team skipping steps and just
Hmm.
like awesome on offense and defense. And let's see how it translates in the playoffs. But out of respect for Denver infrastructure, out of respect for where they are through all of the injuries, Jokic, Gordon still out, Peyton Watson still out, Christian Brown missing more than half the season. I'm just betting on that team getting the pieces together in time where just we still have to put them above San Antonio because of the playoff experience and the championship equity.
Yeah, they badly needed that just dominant win over Houston last night. Like they've had some heartbreaking losses recently, and they just needed like a proof of concept. This is what we look like at our best type win, which they got. And I think if they have Gordon, the Nuggets, if they have Gordon and Peyton Watson healthy, I'm going to pick them to win any series except maybe OKC, and I'd pick that one to go 7. Um, it's
Yep.
just hard for me to bet on 2 hamstrings. Like those are really tricky, tough injuries, and they've lingered for Gordon all year, and for Watson, it's like he'll be coming off of it pretty much straight into playoff basketball. So I worry about that. So I had them 3 because of the injury concerns. Um, and I also need Cam Johnson to wake up because he's been shockingly bad and just like playing with zero force. So I need
Yeah.
him to wake up.
Everything's gone wrong for Denver and they're still in a really good spot and they still might be healthy in time. So if
Yeah.
if we find out that like if Gordon comes back and he pulls it again and he's not going to be himself, or they struggle to integrate Peyton Watson back in because like Peyton Watson was kind of running the show there for a couple weeks before he got hurt.
Yep.
It will be a different calculus, but like they're getting good minutes from Bruce Brown. Christian Brown has been getting more and more comfortable. They're deeper than last year, and last year's team took OKC to the brink. So
Yeah.
I've still got Denver too, and then I don't need to tell you why OKC's won. They've earned
Yeah.
it.
So 2 quick things. San Antonio, if it goes wrong for San Antonio in the playoffs, I think it'll be because of clutch offense. Um,
Yeah,
Wemby is amazing, but he's not at the point of being able to like generate his own good look against a set defense. So a lot of the clutch offense burden goes to De'Aaron Fox, and I worry about his decision making in tight playoff games, even though he did win Clutch Player of the Year a couple years ago. But I guess if it goes wrong,
yeah.
it'll be because of bad Fox decisions in the clutch. Um,
Yeah, I literally my fingers were hovering over the keyboard. I almost Apple seed San Antonio and moved them to 2. And then I caught myself, took a sip of water, and I remembered that De'Aaron Fox is on the team and he's been giving me Green Rockets flashbacks all season. Fox is way better than Jalen Green, but I just see a scenario where the ball ends up in De'Aaron Fox's hands in a crucial possession. Whereas with Denver, it's going to the right guy. I'm more confident, and especially because of Jokic's back to the basket game, like there's just a higher likelihood that they're going to be able to create the sort of possession they want in tight moments. And Jamal Murray, despite being way better than De'Aaron Fox, has less ego when it comes to the end of a shot clock, the end of a game. So I just believe in Denver and crunch time more.
Yeah. And last word on Oklahoma City, who I also have at one. When healthy, the depth is just insane. Like the
Yeah,
bench would probably be a playoff team. Uh, AJ Mitchell is the biggest difference between this year's team and last year's team. I thought it would be the offensive development of Chet that he's developed a little, but it hasn't been that much. AJ Mitchell is like another scorer, ball handler, like baby Tony Parker on their team is the biggest difference between this year's team and last year's team. And you saw it against Denver the other night. And the Shea AJ Mitchell numbers are like they're destroying opponents when both of those guys are on the court. So really curious to see what their best five ends up being in the playoffs. If it's like last year, where it's the big three and then one of Caruso or Dort and Hartenstein sort of picking two of those three. Or if AJ works his way into their closing five, where it's non-negotiable Shea, AJ, J-Dub, Chet, and then plug in whoever the next best guy is. So really curious to see that. And you said Wemby can leave these playoffs as the consensus best player in the world. Shea has a chance to do the exact same thing. So
yeah.
he's pretty close to that right now already. So yeah, I think if they have their guys healthy, they're the favorite.
The Jalen Williams, J Dub injury stuff has been so cryptic and opaque and all those words since the end of last season. We knew something was wrong with him. We found out after the championship that he needed surgery. He made a YouTube video. We were told he would most likely be ready for the beginning of the season. Then he wasn't. And it's just been a really weird series of events. Now it's the hamstring.
Yeah.
But he's played 26 games this year. I don't know if he feels 100% with the wrist. He shot 43% his sophomore season from three in the NBA, 36.5% last year. And in his 26 games this year, he shot 31% from three. So that's like we're nitpicking because the obvious argument is this team is still number one in the West, having missing their second best player for the majority of the season. But it is a dynamic that at some point they will have to reintegrate J Dub. And if he's struggling to shoot from outside and Chet is struggling to shoot from outside, there are just like ways that their offense could dry up in the half court. And so, like you said, that it's not a foregone conclusion that we're choosing the Thunder in every series. There's enough contention in the West now, especially after like the Nuggets' valiant effort defending their title last year.
Yeah.
But OKC holds the top spot, and we'll most likely be betting on them, assuming they're like 90% healthy.
Yeah. What this exercise has shown me is the second round is going to be awesome, just if teams can stay healthy. Because I think that second tier of contenders is so deep and so even and so matchup dependent that however it falls, that bracket in the second round, I think is going to be phenomenal. So yeah, end of season look ahead. We've still got a couple weeks left to like let the seeding fall and see what other storylines emerge. But we hadn't ranked contenders in a while, so we thought it'd be a good chance to do that here with like a couple weeks left in the season.
Yes, sir. Thanks for listening. We'll be back soon. Peace.